Okay, so I just wanted to record a bit of a recap on some of the best EPs and breakouts that I've seen in September. Overall, September's been a pretty good month for all the indices. The Qs are up, IWM, SPY, everything's up a good amount this month. And we've had some really good opportunities. Firstly, ABAT. This stock had a big run up back in June, July, went up like 190%, and then it just went sideways for like 2 months nearly. Like a nice orderly pullback. It started consolidating around the 50, 10, and then it just got tighter and tighter. And it eventually broke out of this tight little range here on some really nice volume. So this day here has been a great entry. Ran up about 88% afterwards. Yeah, so that's a nice breakout trade that happened in September. Secondly, AMPX. It's quite a similar one. Ran up in June, July, pulled back for a couple months. Got really tight around here on the 50-day again. Moving averages got really tight, and then it just broke out on increased volume. Another great move there, and out of it's up 56%, still riding the 10-day. Had some good revenue here, 349% year over year, beat and a beat. So yeah, that was another nice one. Hover, yeah, again quite similar. It's up 400%. This one, it looks really nice on the weekly here. Big move, May and June, pulls back and just goes really quiet for like 3 months there, and gets really tight here, and then it just breaks above that range. And I mean, this is just the start of this move. I think it's been consolidating for so long. A weekly chart, it looks like it could go up to 4 or 5 quite easily. And then Ionic, Q. Yeah, it's been another one that's it ran up since March, and has just been pulling back slowly. And the last week or two of August and start of September, it just got really tight on this 20-day moving average. I mean, it's just put in such a nice range here for like, I don't know, 3.5 months. Pops above this tight range there, and it just runs 73%. Closed just below the 10-day here, but still holding above the 20-day at the moment. It could definitely go higher, but even still, that's a nice move as it is. 70% move. You've definitely taken some profits, and you just ride that out now. IONS is an EP. Announced one of its drugs met some late stage studies, and the main part of this news was that one of the benefits was that there was a reduction in pancreatitis events, and they didn't expect this result to happen. It wasn't even part of the test. So that news alone was like a big surprise for a stock that had been just doing nothing for like 2 months. As you can see, it made it pop. It obviously already has close below the 10-day, but it could definitely still make a move higher. But yeah, look at this, like really nice volume there. It's the biggest volume it's had in like 5 years. Pops up above the range, so above all the moving averages. So it's quite a nice EP there, and plus it's pretty strong revenue and earnings, like big beats back here. So yeah, that's a pretty decent EP. It's probably not one of the best ones, especially biotechs, but it's a larger cap biotech, so you could play those. Lithium Americas is a very recent one and it's pretty volatile. I think it's just a rumor that it's not a rumor. They're in talks for the American government to potentially take them out. So it's probably quite likely to happen, and that's a vote of confidence from the U.S. government. It's been absolutely doing nothing for all this time, and it's popped up on some big volume. So it has a potential to really get going, I think. But of course, if these rumors turn out to be false or the talks end up in the US government not doing anything, then it ultimately probably won't go anywhere and may come back down here. Mineralis was another EP, and it announced the pricing of an upsized 250 million underwritten public offering of common stock. So the fact that it did an upsized underwritten offering is a signal of pretty strong demand. It kind of shows that institutions want in. I think initially they put out an offering of 175 million, an underwritten one, and then they recently upsized it to this 250 million one. If you don't know, an underwritten offering is where they'll offer the stock to institutional investors, so big banks and things, and it's more of a guarantee. Well, it is a guarantee that they're going to get the money. They agree a deal, usually at a reduced rate, for a bank to buy the stock, so 250 million worth of the stock, and then so that's guaranteed money for them, and then the fact that it gets upsized is another positive, because it shows that there were buyers for this stock. Usually if on an underwritten offering, it's a pretty strong sign anyway. Like usually the stock will be a bit volatile, usually drop a bit, but in the long run it will usually benefit the stock if it's a strong company. Of course, if it's a shit company, it's gonna not help at all anyway. They're just trying to raise some money. But if it's a strong company and they're raising money this way, it's probably the best way that they can do it. For bigger companies, for smaller companies that need the money now, they often go with other routes. But yeah, it's up 80% since that news. Like if I see a stock doing an underwritten public offering that's been upsized and there's a positive reaction to it, it's a good indicator, I think. And it's got really tight here and just popped out yesterday. It may carry on upwards from here. Oklo, yeah, I mean, this is the nuclear reactor company. Ever since back here, where Trump administration said they're gonna speed up the nuclear deployment, this thing's just gone nuclear. It's run up, I mean, since then probably 250%, yeah. And recently it just, throughout August and September, start of September, it pulled back and just got quite tight around the 10 and 20-day moving average. And on that day there, it just popped out of the range and made a really nice 89% move since then. So you're taking some profits into this, and you can still ride it out. Or if you use the 10-day as a stop, then you stop out there and you still make a very nice profit, 40%. But yeah, this is one of those companies that it's pre-revenue. Like you've got to be a bit cautious on it, because ultimately you don't know if the company is going to make money or what. But when it's seen as like one of the plays for powering part of the infrastructure to power AI and quantum computing and things. So it will be an important player if it can get the business model right. Planet Labs, they had a pretty decent earnings. I don't think it was anything special, but it had a nice pop, I guess, because it had been going sideways for, again, 3 months, not really doing anything. The earnings is a beat and a beat. It's a positive, beats the expectations, so that's a positive. It has a nice move, big volume, well, decent size volume. Overall, this isn't really one of the greatest setups, but it makes a nice move. When a stock reacts positively to these kind of earnings and decent volume, it's always a good sign, I guess. QBTS is part of the quantum computing brigade with IONQ and Rigetti. So yeah, this one's the chart I kind of like the least, but they're all, when you get these big sector moves, they all move together, and they, you want to pick the strongest one, I think, but really, as long as you're in one of the strong players, they're going to move together. But usually what the weaker ones will do is pull back a little more, and you see with IONQ, it's pulled back and actually already closed below the 10-day. QBTS is actually still holding above its 10-day. Also, IONQ made like a little bit less percentage-wise of a move, so they're both very strong. But Rigetti was my favorite setup of all of these. I mean, all these quantum stocks just got really, really, really tight around this 10, 20, 50-day moving average. It just sat lovely on this 50-day moving average. Got super, super tight and just popped above it here. And, it goes on to run up 125%. It's still way, way above its 10-day moving average. So I think this RGTI is actually the strongest looking one in my perspective. It's like still way above its 10-day moving average, and same with QBTS. IONQ's fallen back a little bit, but they all still look really strong to me. I think you hold them. Obviously, you've sold some into the big move. It's 110% move. You take some profits, but they still look really strong. They could keep going, in my point of view. Finally, gold. I mean, the chart doesn't look great on TC2000, but because it trades outside these hours, so it kind of jumps a lot. But if you look at it on the weekly here, you just see it's been in this range for so long now. I mean, 4 months just being in this tight range. Got really tight around here for like two weeks, and then it's just popped out of that range. Nice move recently, and it's just been going up since then. And this is the Ultra Gold ETF, so it's a 26% move compared to actual gold, but you could play this with like a more leveraged one if you have that. I don't have access to them. So yeah,